trying to inspire sympathy for millions of people who have to go out there every day and grind on their feet, not doing luxurious things. It's just not gonna happen.
And a Jamie Lloyd production of Evita. I promise y'all don't need to be worrying about her career like that.
Because there's so many people that will view you as competition, or they'll make you feel not as good as you deserve to feel.
I just saw this video that was like, Rachel Zegler doesn't have a single movie role lined up after Solo.
They tried to warn her, quietly, behind closed doors. But Rachel Zegler didn't listen. And now, it seems she could be paying the price, a steep one. "I deserve to be paid for every hour it's streamed online," she reportedly said, and that quote has resurfaced with new weight. If the latest whispers out of Broadway are true, Zegler is facing a stunning $5 million fine, one that's not tied to her walking away from a production, but rather to what sources are calling repeated, on-set outbursts that allegedly triggered a hidden clause in her contract. That clause? It's specifically designed to penalize stars who damage a production's reputation. And right now, insiders say the producers are using it against her, aggressively. This isn't the kind of clause you ever hear about when things are running smoothly. It only makes headlines when everything is already spiraling. And based on what's being said behind the scenes, Rachel may have just crossed the line. In the film and entertainment industry, people often assume that if your name carries buzz and the media's following your every move, you must be in control. But that assumption couldn't be more wrong. As an actor, you don't decide whether a film actually gets made. You don't control when or how it's shot. You can't even speak about it publicly unless you've been told you're allowed. Your job is simple. Show up, deliver your lines, and look exactly the way the production wants you to look. That was my role in this project, and that's why I can't say much more. And honestly, that's probably the route Rachel should have taken from the start. Staying quiet instead of turning every step of the process into a public statement. For the past 3 years. The timing of this controversy is striking. Rachel recently broke her silence on the Evita collapse and reportedly blamed her castmates, claiming she was set up from day one. But now, the people behind the production are clapping back, and they're coming for her earnings. A $5 million fine, based not on her acting, but on the things she allegedly said off stage. And what's most telling, her team isn't even denying the allegations. They're just saying no comment. Behind the scenes, though, it's complete chaos. And depending on how things unfold, this could destroy everything she's spent years building. What we're seeing in Rachel isn't all that unique. It's part of a larger Gen Z attitude toward work and responsibility. She seems to believe that speaking her truth, expressing herself, and calling out perceived wrongs should come before everything else, regardless of the fallout for the rest of the team. But this isn't therapy. It's a job she signed a legal contract to do. And that comes with expectations, one of the most basic being the ability to manage yourself and represent the project in a way that doesn't harm its public image, or the livelihoods of the hundreds of people relying on its success. When Zegler's private messages leaked, the ones where she blamed the cast for poisoning the production, the internet exploded. It wasn't just drama, it was a full-on declaration of war. She didn't hold back, reportedly saying she was deliberately set up, that no one ever wanted her on that stage, and that she felt like an outsider during every single rehearsal. It was emotional, it was raw, and it clearly wasn't meant for public eyes. But once those messages went public, there was no taking them back. Because when you've worked tirelessly to embody a role, when you've dedicated countless hours to preparing for a part, and the people in charge act like you're not even worth acknowledging, like they're too busy eating their lunch to look up at you, it can push anyone over the edge. Personally, I've never been through that exact experience. But fans, the internet immediately split in two. Some people jumped to Rachel Zegler's defense, saying she was finally speaking up, finally standing her ground. But others saw it differently. Yet another instance of Rachel dodging accountability and throwing others under the bus when things didn't go her way. Meanwhile, the rest of the cast? Silent. Not a single statement. No confirmations, no denials, just a wall of complete quiet. Not even Novakits, who's usually quick to comment, had anything to say. That silence made everything feel even more unsettling, like something darker was brewing beneath the surface. And then the questions started. Is this backlash really about Snow White? Or is it something deeper? Are people genuinely upset, or just eager to pile on to another woman, another target for a hate train? It all started to feel eerily familiar, like a recycled takedown narrative we've seen before. It brought to mind another woman who faced a full-blown smear campaign, but that's a story for another video. Still, this time, I'm not going to sit back and watch another woman get ripped apart without speaking up. According to fresh sources tied to the production, the leaked messages weren't just embarrassing, they were the final straw. Tensions had apparently been simmering for a while. There were already whispers of missed rehearsals, passive-aggressive behavior, and even behind-the-scenes complaints from crew members. And now, insiders claim the producers are officially done playing nice. They've gone back to the paperwork, found a hidden clause in her contract, and are preparing to invoke it. Rachel Zegler, it seems, is furious about the public reaction. And you can tell, because she started posting cryptic messages online, speaking in metaphors and layered references. One post read, "And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her." She went on to say, "I hope that despite my flaws and my cracks, and there are many, that people will still line up to see me. But here's the harsh truth, Rachel. They didn't line up to see you. And that metaphor? It doesn't quite land when you're under fire from your own industry." That mysterious clause could hit Rachel where it hurts the most, not her reputation, but her bank account. If the rumors are true, she could be facing a multi-million-dollar penalty. But this may not even be about the money anymore. It could be about making an example out of her, because what happened next even surprised her biggest supporters. Some fans rushed in to shower her with love. One called her an absolute icon, saying, "She's always so real, so authentic. She speaks her truth, no matter what. That's why I love her." Another gushed, "I will be a Rachel Zegler stan till the day I die. Her singing, her acting, her power. Oh my God, she's a literal innovator." And then the fan jokingly begged, "Rachel, why are you doing this to me? I don't have any money, and now you're making me buy Evita tickets just to see you again. I love you." But the reality behind the adoration is far more complicated. High-profile stars like Rachel don't sign standard actor contracts. They sign complex, multi-layered agreements packed with clauses most people have never even heard of. These clauses don't just protect the show, they control the star. And if the new leaks flooding through theater forums are to be believed, Rachel's contract for Evita included something called a conduct and reputation clause. This clause makes it clear, if she says or does anything, publicly or privately, that harms the production's image or costs it revenue, she's financially responsible. And the fine? It could be up to $5 million, the so-called Rachel Zegler effect has officially begun. According to known scooper Daniel RPK, Rachel has been recast in Paddington 3, with the public excuse being scheduling conflicts due to industry strikes. But people aren't buying it. There's a growing belief that the strikes are just a convenient cover story, that the real reason is the tidal wave of bad press she's brought with her. She's already been blamed as one of the major reasons the Snow White reboot is expected to flop, and speculation is swirling that her involvement might also tank the next Hunger Games film. So now, with Paddington 3, the studio might be using the strike excuse to quietly replace her. Because, let's be honest, if they came out and said, "We dropped her because she ruins everything she touches," that wouldn't exactly go over well publicly. But behind the scenes, that might be exactly what's happening. The number isn't arbitrary. That $5 million figure is reportedly calculated based on production costs, marketing expenses, and projected ticket sales, all of which could suffer if a show's lead actress becomes the center of a public meltdown. Sources now claim producers are combing through Rachel Zegler's contract line by line after weeks of headline-making leaks, backstage friction, and mounting fan outrage. And it's not just about what she allegedly said, it's about the damage those words may be doing to the project's public image. Because theaters don't survive on drama, they survive on ticket revenue. And Evita? It's already feeling the heat. Fan reactions are unpredictable. Behind-the-scenes clips are being dissected frame by frame, and Rachel Zegler's name is becoming more synonymous with controversy than with talent. Allegedly, producers have consulted legal teams to figure out whether Rachel's public actions, everything from leaked DMs to alleged outbursts and rehearsal absences, amount to a breach of her agreement. The twist: clauses like this one are usually there as a threat, not an actual plan. A nuclear option. The fact that it's even being discussed out in the open suggests something has seriously gone off the rails behind the curtain. Meanwhile, Rachel's team? Nothing. No denial, no carefully worded PR response, just silence. And the longer that silence stretches, the more people begin to ask, is it true? Could one of the most closely watched young stars in Hollywood really be facing a $5 million fine just because she lost control backstage? Or is this just the producers pulling strings, reminding her who really owns the power? Either way, one thing is certain. If they go through with this, it won't just make headlines. It will change the entire game. So, what did Rachel, allegedly, do that pushed producers to this point? According to insider whispers, it wasn't a single meltdown. It was a pattern. Multiple accounts, from anonymous crew members to fan page leaks from cast-adjacent sources, describe her backstage conduct during Evita rehearsals as increasingly difficult. One viral comment painted her as emotionally unstable, switching from silent withdrawal to unexpected frustration when choreography or direction didn't suit her. Another source claimed there were tense back and forths with vocal coaches and choreographers, not outright shouting but sharp enough to make the rest of the cast uncomfortable. Rumors say she showed up late, left early, sometimes didn't show up at all, and when she did, refused to engage with feedback or direction. Then came the breaking point. An unnamed crew member allegedly filed a formal complaint after Rachel snapped at them during a late-night rehearsal over a technical hiccup. No one knows exactly what she said, but insiders say the incident was serious enough to be documented and submitted to higher-ups. And that's when the dynamic reportedly shifted. According to sources, that's when producers started calling lawyers. That's when they pulled the contract, looked for the clause, and began calculating what kind of financial damage they could enforce if the situation escalated any further. And this was all before the leaks, before the DM surfaced, before Rachel went public, allegedly blaming her castmates, before the fan base turned. To the public, it looked like Rachel had finally broken her silence, but to the people behind the production, it looked like escalation. A PR mess turned power struggle. While Rachel remained quiet, insiders say the producers began documenting everything, piece by piece. Not just to build a case, but to send a warning. Because from their side, this isn't drama anymore, it's about control, and their next move could be their boldest yet. When the first leaks dropped, fans assumed Rachel was controlling the story. She had the spotlight, she had the platform. But behind the scenes, a different narrative was unfolding. While Rachel was allegedly venting in private messages and blaming the cast, the Evita producers said nothing. No official statement, no rebuttal, no support, just silence. But it wasn't passive, it was calculated. Because what they did do was dust off the contract. And according to production sources, that $5 million clause? It's not necessarily about collecting. It's about pressure. It's leverage. A reminder that her signature gave them legal ground. and they're holding the other end of the leash. This isn't just about money anymore, it's a power play. By letting word of the clause slip into the public sphere, producers have taken back control of the story without ever having to say a word. They're letting fear do the talking now. Fear of financial collapse, legal action, and career destruction. Because in this industry, once you're labeled difficult to work with, the phone stops ringing, and that's the true penalty. Some believe the entire move was timed perfectly. Why go public with the contract now? Why let the clause leak after Rachel's private messages made her look like the victim? Insiders say it's because the producers were done. Done with the rehearsal drama. Done with the PR fallout. Done watching the project sink headline by headline. This leak wasn't an accident. It was a message to everyone else in the industry. Fall in line, or we'll bury you in contracts. That kind of legal pressure doesn't just silence a star, it isolates them. Because once everyone else knows the producers are willing to fight dirty, no one wants to stand in the blast radius. Rachel might have thought going public would shift the spotlight in her favor, but instead, she may have triggered a response she can't take back. And now the question looms. Was this just a bluff from producers, or are they really about to hit her with a $5 million bomb? As word of the alleged fine exploded online, fans did what fans always do. They picked sides. And just like that, the internet turned into a battlefield. On one side were those who felt Rachel had finally gone too far. Actions have consequences, they said. One viral tweet read, "She's been acting like a diva for months. If the producers are clapping back, good." And that opinion, it's not uncommon. Ever since Rachel's controversial takes on Snow White hit the media, she's been a lightning rod for criticism. Some accuse her of arrogance. Others say she's just too young and impulsive for the level of spotlight she's under. But nearly everyone agrees. Her presence in the media lately has been erratic at best. Reddit threads exploded overnight. One user, "She's tanking her own career in real time. I've never seen a self-destruct this fast," one Reddit user claimed. Another added, "This is what happens when you forget that Broadway isn't Hollywood. You don't get to act out and walk away clean." But not everyone was cheering. A growing number of fans, especially those who've supported Zegler since her breakout role, believe the alleged fine is completely unfair. "She's being scapegoated," one fan posted on TikTok. "Why are they treating her like a criminal for being emotional? She's 22 and under insane pressure." Others began questioning the producer's silence. If this $5 million fine is real, why hasn't anyone officially confirmed it? Theories spread fast. Some fans believe producers are leaking just enough information to stir the media pot, to weaponize press coverage without ever going on record. Then came the comparisons. Online threads pointed to male actors, ones who've yelled at directors, stormed off sets, or sparked real controversy, and yet kept their roles, free of million-dollar penalties. And suddenly, this wasn't just about Rachel's behavior. It was about the way women, especially young women, are treated when they push back. Some believe she brought this all on herself. Others think she's being used as an example, a warning to every rising star about what happens when you stop playing nice. Either way, the divide is getting deeper. And Rachel, she's still silent. But that silence, it's only making the speculation louder. Because the next chapter in this story might not come from her. It might come from the courts. Let's be real. $5 million isn't a slap on the wrist. It's a career-altering hit. But is it actually enforceable? Or is this all smoke and mirrors? Legal insiders on forums and fan-run podcasts are split. Some say yes. If Rachel's contract includes a conduct clause, and if the producers have documentation of disruptive behavior, staff complaints, or even repeated tension, they could absolutely argue for damages, especially if they can prove her actions directly hurt the show's financial performance. But others aren't so sure. They say enforcing a clause like that would require hard evidence that her behavior directly impacted revenue. And that's a high bar. After all, Evita is still running. Tickets are still being sold. Rachel is still showing up. That's why many believe the entire story might be a scare tactic, a pressure move. Not about winning in court, but about reasserting control without ever filing a lawsuit. But here's the twist. It doesn't even matter whether the fine is real. The idea of the fine, the fact that it's being talked about like it is, has already reshaped the narrative. In the court of public opinion, Rachel Zegler is now tied to behind-the-scenes chaos, huge financial penalties, and a power struggle with her own employers. Whether or not that money changes hands, the damage is done. Because once your name becomes a warning instead of a headline, that's when careers begin to slip. Rachel may have survived the Snow White storm. She may have broken into Broadway. But this could be the moment everything shifts, and unless she plays her next move very, very carefully, it might all fall apart. Because now, after weeks of silence, after the collapse of one of the most hyped revivals in recent memory, Rachel Zegler has finally spoken. Not with a formal apology, not with a raw, emotional video, but with shadows, leaks, half-truths, cryptic quotes, and social media whispers so loud they no longer feel like rumors. And most striking of all, she didn't say, "I'm sorry." She said, "They did this to me." That's not reflection. That's redirection. That's not accountability. That's strategy. And now, the question isn't just what happened on Evita. It's much bigger. It's about Rachel Zegler herself. Is she owning the collapse or rewriting the ending? Let's look at the facts. The backstage drama, confirmed by multiple insider sources. The cast tensions, whispered about long before the leaks. Her clashes with vocal coaches and the director, reportedly so bad some crew members nearly walked off. And yet, in Rachel's version, the one now making rounds on TikTok and Reddit, she's the target, the outsider, the victim of sabotage. It's a compelling narrative, but it's also convenient. Because let's not forget, Rachel has been here before. She sparked outrage during the Snow White press tour by mocking the original film, ridiculing the prince character, and alienating Disney's own fan base. Instead of walking it back, she doubled down, accusing critics of being weird, sexist, or just stuck in the past. Then came Shazam, Fury of the Gods, where she admitted she took the role for a paycheck, triggering backlash from fans and even the studio. Again, no apology, just a block spree and silence. Now, with Evita, we're watching the same playbook unfold. Step 1. Go silent during backlash. Step 2. Leak your side of the story. Step 3. Paint yourself as misunderstood. Step 4. Re-emerge as a survivor. It's a crisis management formula, but it's starting to look like a pattern. Because no matter the story, no matter the scandal, it's never Rachel's fault. To her fans, this is resilience. They argue she's being held to unfair standards, that she's a young, outspoken Latina navigating an industry that loves to punish confident women. And to be clear, that argument has weight. Hollywood is brutal. Broadway even more so. And women, especially young women of color, face scrutiny that their male peers never do. So maybe Rachel really was pushed too far. Maybe the set was toxic. Maybe her frustrations were ignored until she snapped. But even if all of that is true, there's still a line between explaining your pain and blaming everyone around you. Because Evita didn't collapse in isolation. Dozens of people worked on that show. Choreographers, lighting techs, vocal coaches, ensemble performers. They gave it everything. And when it crumbled, it wasn't just Rachel left bruised. It was the whole cast. So when the narrative leaks frame her as the only one suffering, some of those people who were also there, feel thrown under the bus. That's the risk of always playing the victim. Eventually, even your supporters start asking, "Okay, But what's your part in all this? And maybe that's where we are now. Because Rachel Zegler's career, it's not over, not even close. She's incredibly talented, ambitious, and captivating to watch. But talent without humility? That's a harder sell. And if this is her final act in the Evita saga, if her strategy is to rewrite the story, shift the blame, and walk away clean, then she'd better brace for impact. Because Hollywood might forgive, but it doesn't forget. Every bridge burned, every colleague alienated, every anonymous whisper. They echo, they linger, they shape what happens next. So we end where we began. Is Rachel Zegler owning her story, or blaming her way out of it? Right now, it depends who you ask. Some say she's reclaiming the narrative. Others say she's deflecting, dodging, and digging the hole deeper. But one thing's for sure, this isn't the end. It's just the prologue. And if you're watching this story unfold, stay close. Because the next chapter, it's coming fast.